Let's talk about trade dress. All right. Trade dress is the way a company's existing trademarks are presented in the service of a customer. All right. Now, in class, typically I would use a short clip from the movie Coming to America. If you've seen it, perhaps you remember the McDowell's restaurant where Eddie Murphy's character gets a job, and it is strikingly similar to that of McDonald's. All right. Well, if that were real life, McDonald's would have had a very strong case of trade dress. So what is trade dress? It's the color schemes used in a restaurant, the way it's decorated, the packaging, right? McDonald's has distinct packaging, or any restaurants. Most restaurants have distinct packaging for their orders, the uniforms that the staff is wearing, the types of seating, the arrangement of the restaurant. All of that's trade dress. And it's most observable in restaurants, but retail establishments also have a trade dress that can be protected. So think about this. If you were in an Outback Steakhouse, but someone had come through and removed all the Outback logos and names, you still probably know you're in an Outback because of the way it's decorated, the color schemes, the wood grain, and all that other stuff that they use. And that is trade dress. So if another restaurant looked too similar to that, they would be sued by Outback for trade dress infringement. All right. So we've talked about the interplay between common law and the federal trademark protection. We've talked about that a little bit. Let's talk. So trademarks can be protected forever, long as they're used in commerce every 7 years. You renew the registration. You can protect a trademark forever, unless one of these two things happens: it's abandoned, or it becomes generic. All right. Now, I'm going to link to a YouTube video from the Velcro company, and usually I lead with the video. It's a humorous video, so hopefully you find it as well. And it is the actual legal team for the Velcro Corporation. All right. And it was propaganda put out to help prevent the term Velcro from being generic. Because Velcro is it's a trademark, but the actual product is called hook and loop fastener. Bet you didn't know that, but that's what it is. When you see Velcro, you usually just call it Velcro. Reality is there are many companies that make that product, only one Velcro company. All right. A few other examples of trademarks that have become generic. Jello. All right. Well, many companies make gelatin, but there's only one Jello company. Kleenex, trampoline, Band-Aid, right? Well, Kleenex the product is a tissue. Band-Aid is a brand name. The product is a bandage, right? And more recently, Apple's App Store. Well, Android has an app store too, and they use that term without fear of being sued because it's a generic term, even though Apple initially trademarked it. All right. So the idea is that when a term becomes generic, companies lose the right to protect it, and it's fair game for any company in that realm to use it. Abandonment is like setting something at the curb with the trash. You know, it's not used for a period of 7 years, and pretty much it's up for grabs at that point. All right, so what I want to do, I've got a story that details both of these concepts, and we're going to start in with that on the next slide. Okay, so I call this the suburban tale. All right, and this is going to illustrate trademark abandonment and also genericide, not in that order. Trademark genericide really is just how a trademark becomes generic. All right, so what you're looking at is a 1935 Chevy Suburban. All right, that's also a Suburban from the 50s, and a more recent Suburban. Perhaps you recognize that's a Chevy Suburban. All right. All right, old school Chevy logo, right? Plymouth. Wait a minute, what's going on? So the Suburban nameplate is the longest continually manufactured American nameplate. It's the model that has been consistently manufactured since 1935. All right. And in the 30s and 40s, this type of vehicle, the Chevy Suburban, was very successful. All right. And success breeds imitation. So every other manufacturer in the United States, be it Plymouth, AMC, Dodge Motor, Ford, brought vehicles looking like this to market. And they looked like the Chevy Suburban, but they were made by another manufacturer. And consumers referred to all of the vehicles as Suburbans, not just the Chevrolet products. All right, so the term Suburban in the 30s and 40s was used like we use sport utility vehicle or SUV today, or station wagon in a decade ago, or maybe 2 decades. It was used as a term for an entire class of vehicles, not a particular brand and model. All right. And so Plymouth, among other manufacturers, this is just the example I happened to locate, was able to sell a similar car as a Suburban. All right, without fear of being infringement, because it was a generic term. Plymouth wasn't the only one doing it. Other companies did it as well. All right. Well, in the late 50s and into the 60s, the oil embargo took place. Gas prices went up. Americans got more interested in smaller, more fuel-efficient vehicles. All right. Every automobile manufacturer, except for Chevrolet, and by this time it's General Motors operating Chevrolet, had abandoned. They stopped using the term Suburban. They didn't even really compete in that type of vehicle anymore. All right, so they abandoned the use of that term. All right. So in the early 60s, General Motors, since they were the only one still manufacturing the Suburban, or still using the term, I should say, the Suburban, they were able to apply for and receive trademark protection for the name Suburban. Right. So in this story, we have a trademark Suburban that becomes generic in the 1950s. and is used by many brands, including Plymouth. Every single one of those brands, except for Chevy, gives up. It stops manufacturing the Suburban and abandons that name, and Chevy then trademarks it. All right, so that's a story of genericide, abandonment, and reclamation or reclaiming a trademark. Okay,